Okay, as you know, water is extremely, actually the most important. Water is life in our world on this planet. The majority of the Earth's surface is water. Our bodies are about the same percentage, about I think 70-75% water, and we need water to live. Everything does. That's alive or living on this planet. Every organism needs water. The thing is we in civilization have access to tap water. Tap water is treated water. That means that there's lots of chemicals and toxins that they treat the water, and things can get into the water from factories, different runoffs and such like that. Flint, Michigan, and so some of the things that you can find in everyday tap water is chlorine, fluorine compounds, trihalomethanes, salts of arsenic, radium, aluminum, copper, lead, mercury, cadmium, barium. Hormones are in water, nitrates, pesticides, and tons of other stuff that we probably don't know about. So a lot of these things aren't good for you. And again, you know what that crisis that's has happened to the people of Flint. That's water is an important thing, and it's important to know what's in your water. When I lived in Arizona, it was recommended that I didn't drink tap water. So part of my budget had to be about going out and drinking or buying water, pure water from the store. And so what we're going to do in this video is I'm going to show you how to distill water. And distilling is basically heating up the water and allowing the steam of the water droplets to hit a cooler surface so that it condenses and goes back into a liquid form, but minus all of the bad stuff. And so how we do that, and this is tap water, so I'm going to put this aside here. How we do that, or what you will need, is you'll need a big pot. You'll need a smaller pot or bowl. This is made of glass, and whatever you have, I guess, in a pinch. This here is a smaller jar, and that's to elevate the bowl. And then you'll need the pot that has a lid that's going to fit tightly. This lid actually has a steam hole because we want the steam to hit the surface of the lid, but we need to cool it down. So we got to be mindful of when we cool it down, and we're going to use ice to do that, that the ice doesn't contaminate our water. So I'm going to set this up, and what I want to do is I want to see how long it takes to distill a gallon of water. Now we're at the end of the process. We're not going to get a gallon of water because a good portion of the water is going to escape into steam, and it's just going to evaporate. So I want to see and figure out what the numbers are when this process is done for 1 gallon of water. Okay, how we set this up is we have our pot here, and we have the smaller jar. I guess a can of tuna would work. I'll probably take a can of tuna, and an empty can of tuna, not a full can of tuna, unless you're trying to cook the tuna. But then don't use a whole can of tuna. Take the tuna out, pop a couple of holes into the bottom so the water can escape and it'll sit on the bottom. But this short jar seems to work pretty good, so I'm just going to put that at the bottom as a platform. All right, and then we're going to carefully pour our water, and we're going to set our bowl on top of the platform. We want it slightly elevated, and we want to carefully pour our water, and this is a US gallon of regular tap water, and I'm just going to pour this in there. And you could do this with lake water, river water, creek water, to distill it. Even if you were stuck on a deserted island and all you were surrounded by water, but you can't drink any of it because it's salt water, the best thing you could do is, especially if you had things that would wash up on shore, you could makeshift a way to distill the salt water. So basically all it is the process is heating the water, allowing the steam to hit a cooler surface. It condenses, and then the water that doesn't have the salts and stuff in it anymore, you capture into a cup or a bowl like this. All right, and that water is potable or drinkable. So now we take our lid and we want to put our lid on upside down. So I'm putting it upside down like so. And I happen to have one here that's got a that actually fits pretty tightly. And actually, yeah, this one is the bowl is actually hitting it, the top here. So I'm gonna try another lid. This is actually the lid for this pot, but it fits. It's domed this way. So I've got another lid that'll probably fit better. Okay, so I have another lid here. That actually will work better because it's not as convex on this side here. And so we'll just set it upside down. The thing is it doesn't have the hole, so steam will escape off the side. So we probably won't be able to distill the same amount of water as I was hoping with the other one because it had a small hole. But again, this is homemade kitchen put together type of stuff. It's not going to be perfect unless you actually have a distilling apparatus. So this is how you do it with the stuff that you just have around the house. It's not going to be perfect, but something is better than nothing. So basically we have the situation where we have a pot here that has a bowl in the center that's elevated. We don't want the water to come up too far because we don't want the water to boil into our container here. It'll contaminate this distillation process, and we need to have a lid that we can invert and cover on the top. Now what we're going to do is turn on the heat, and we'll let it come to a boil. So there we go. Alright, so the process is already starting, and you can kind of see some droplets collecting underneath here. So the steam is collecting on the lid here, and then it's because of the convexity of the lid, the water is funneled into the center and collects and then drops into the water, into the bowl. And these droplets here that are dropping should be pure water or distilled water. So this is just now starting to get to a boil. It'll get there soon, and then there'll be a lot of steam, and it'll just start to really collect. When that happens, we're going to take some ice cubes and put them on here, and to make the surface even more cooler to help the process along faster. Okay, so we got this to a boil here, and it's a rolling boil. We got a lot of steam escaping, unfortunately, because the other lid was too big, and or my platform was too tall. So we're gonna make do. A lot of steam is escaping, so I'm just taking ice and I'm just gonna set it on top of the lid here, and this will cool down the surface really quickly and create more condensation into the bowl. Just like that. So this is the structure, makeshift apparatus on how to distill water. Alright, so now we have a bit of a puddle of water here, and I've got a turkey baster, the space age kind version. If you don't have a turkey baster, what I have done is just taken a towel and folded it up and sopped up the water and wrung it out to get rid of the water. And it's just a repetitious process, but having a baster or some sort of sucky gimmick in this sort of configuration of a distilling apparatus, this tool comes in handy. So I'm just going to kind of suck up the water here, and I'm just going to put the water into a separate container, which I can distill later. So I don't want to waste the water. Let me just go ahead and suck up this water, and I'm going to add more ice. You can already start to see some of the our distilled water collecting at the bottom of the bowl. So this process is working. This apparatus is working. Okay, so this is our second round of sopping up the melted ice. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is if you're going to use a towel, you'd fold it up similar to this and then soak it up. I'm going to put this in there and then wring it out. This water, if you leave it too long, is going to become hot. So I would recommend being very careful with this process and making sure that as soon as the ice melts, you sop it up, all right? Or wear gloves or something to protect yourself. Otherwise, it's just more safer to get a turkey baster or something like this. So we're just going to sop this up and continue the process until all the water has, we've got enough distilled water collected, or the water has boiled all the way down. So hopefully you can see through the steam and the droplets that the water is starting to collect, and this is how the process works. So we're collecting some, and we've only been boiling for about a half an hour or so. Alright, so we're done. The water's boiled completely down. I let it I let the pot cool off a bit, and then I'm just gonna sop up the rest of this water right quick, and then we're gonna measure how much of water we harvested. It should be pure water, distilled water, with little to none of the toxins and chemicals that is in the tap water, at least here up north. Different regions are going to have different chemicals and whatnot in their tap water, their running water. So again, be careful. This is hot. I'm going to use a towel just to be sure that I don't burn myself. Set that aside. This is your distilled water. It is going to be hot, so I'm going to reposition everything so I can pour this safely into our container here, and we're going to measure how much we've got. Okay, so here is our distilled water. This is what we yielded from a gallon of tap water. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pour this into a 6-cup mason jar just to see how much we actually were able to harvest. It's going to be hot, so be careful. And according to this, probably about 3 cups. So 16 cups in a gallon, so we got a lot more distilling to go to get a gallon. But I just wanted to go ahead and do this demonstration real quick just to see how much we could get of distilled water. Now, if my apparatus was perfect and I was able to really trap that steam in there, I'm pretty sure I would yield a lot more and a lot more quicker. So there you go. That's pretty much how you distill water. Okay, so here's a slight modification that's even better than the configuration we had before, whereas we were just putting ice straight onto the lid here, and then having to suck up or sop up the melted ice afterwards, which could be potentially unsafe because the water would get hot if you wait for too long after the ice melted. So basically this is a metal bowl, and metal conducts temperature. So meaning if something on the inside of it is hot, the metal's going to be hot. If something's cold, if something's on the inside of the metal is going to be cold, the other side's going to be cold. So this way I can put a bunch of ice on, and the outer surface of the metal bowl here will be cold enough to help the condensation on the bottom, on the other side of the lid here. So it looks like it's working out pretty good, and yeah, so I just wanted to give that little side note there.